Okay. Vayim Hashem al Avram, page 54. Lech lecha me'aretzecha me'aretzecha beis avicha el haaretz asher areka. So Rabbi Rashi says, first of all, Lech lecha, go for you. Means don't go for me, go for you. They ask a question, which is, this is supposed to be the first of the 10 nisyonot, right? Challenges that he was supposed to have. What's Lech lecha? Go for you. It's not a challenge. If I tell you, go travel somewhere and you're going to win the lottery. Of course you go. Everybody goes. Like, what's the challenge? Lech lecha. He said, you go for your, Hashem said to Avram, go and I'll make you into a big nation and you'll be famous and you're going to give brachas and you're going to be wealthy and it's not a challenge. I explain that even beyond the emunah challenge, the belief in Hashem, the challenge was to do it because Hashem told him to, as opposed to because he's going to get rewards. So, for example, imagine a father tells a son to go buy a lottery ticket, and then he tells the son, I know you're going to win, but I'm instructing you to do it. So the son still gets a mitzvah of kibbud avayim, right? If they go do it. But that's not why they went to buy it. They went to buy it because they thought they were going to win. A son who really, really knows how to do the mitzvah properly will go buy the lottery ticket because the father told. So it's a very, very deep level. The same works by emunah. There's 3 levels of emunah. The basic level is emunah pshuta. You often hear, Sfardim, Yeshli emunah, mamim bak, that very emunah pshuta, simple emunah. You ask them, why do you believe? I don't know. I just believe, That's emunah. Then the second level, the higher level of emunah is emunah with a reason. I believe because Hashem saved me. I believe because science. I believe because the world's so big. I believe because the Jewish nation exists. Okay, that's emunah with reason. But there's an even deeper level. The deepest level of emunah is I believe because I worked it out and I know there must be a God, but I believe because Hashem told me to. The first one of the Aseret HaTibrut is you must believe in Hashem. So I believe because Hashem told me to, even though I know it logically. I can prove it. You understand? So this is what Avram was trying to achieve. The highest level of listening to Hashem, which is, yes, I'm going to benefit from it, but I'm doing it because Hashem told me. Not because I don't want, not because of the benefit. So that's the beginning. That's Lech Lecha. But it's just as a political note, a little bit, not really politics, just a current event. You see how he said, Hashem says, you're going to have children. At this point, he didn't have any children yet. Later on, he had Avram, later on he had Yitzchak and Ishmael, and he had more children as well. We don't learn a lot about them, but he had more children. But what's most surprising to me is that nowadays, having children, people don't even want to have children anymore. They did a study. They asked college-aged girls, what's your most important priorities? Like 16, in a list of, I think it was 20 things that they gave them. The climate, the environment, the, democracy and money and finance and health. In the list, on average, among girls that are on the left, girls, 16th is having a baby. 16th. That means the top of it is having a house, having money, democracy, and saving the environment, and climate change, and 16th, this is a true study that came out. Among liberal young girls, 16th was having a baby.
Very sad.
What's the crazy about it is, until recently, literally until 20, 30 years ago, everyone would pray, please, to have a baby, right? And now it's at the bottom of the list of priorities. I have people in this community, they tell me that children are not getting married because they're very, very liberal and they don't want to have children in such a world. Unbelievable. And it's the saddest thing. The biggest bracha you can possibly have is children, not money, not wealth, nothing, not even health, because children is continuity. That's what we were created for. Humans are created to have children, literally. So anyway, so it's just a funny how the world has changed all the way to the wrong side.
Rabbi, I just want to say something about that God is saying to Abraham, Lech lecha me'artzecha. First, God starts from Eretz. then he goes to Muledet, then he goes to the house, which actually, if you think, it should be vice versa.
Opposite.
Because first you leave the house of your father, but I think that it's in purpose because like to leave the country is less difficult than to leave your home. So God is telling him, leave your country. Slowly, slowly, he wants him to get acquainted with the idea, with his experience. So I think that's huge that he's doing it, like he's leaving everything behind him. He's kind of reborn, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. I think Rashi says a very similar idea. No, it's not Rashi. Mepharshim bring very similar explanation. Idea that he wasn't asking him to leave the physical. Rashi actually says he already says last week he went to Haran. So he already left his father's house. He already left his home. Maybe he didn't leave the country. That's not really, he was asking him to leave the emotional.
Right.
And to leave your country, okay. To leave your city, you're more attached to your city, especially in Charleston. People in Charleston, they love Charleston. And then what's the hardest thing to leave? Is your home.
Yes.
Right? Imagine I tell you have to leave everything your parents taught you and now you have to learn something new. Wow, it's difficult. That's why Hashem was telling Abraham. He has to leave his father's house. His father was a big idol worshiper, Terach.
Exactly.
And that would be the hardest part. So first leave the country, then leave psychologically, then leave your city, and then you leave your father's house. Rashi says something interesting, that on a very basic level, all the things that Hashem blessed Avram with were things that normally you don't get when you travel. When you travel, it's hard to build a family. When you travel, you lose money. And when you travel, people don't know you, like you become a nobody. So Hashem said, no, don't worry. I'll make you v'eschal goy gadol, and I'll bless you, and I'll make you famous, and you'll be a bracha, etc., etc. So all the things, says Rashi, that you normally lose. You don't have a family, you don't have money, and you lose who you are. You're going to get all three. Those three things you normally lose when you travel, you're going to still have.
Rabbi, in the end of in the Master of the Parsha before, it's written that they left Ur Kasdim ללכת לארץ כנען. So, like to arrive to Eretz Canaan, this was their aim, and it happened, and they stayed at Haran.
Yeah.
So now Hashem is saying to Abraham, לך לך מארצך אל הארץ אשר אראך, but we know that God will lead him to Eretz Canaan, as it was their target before.
Yeah.
But the purpose was different because before maybe economically they left. Yeah, it's something completely. He doesn't even know the country. God doesn't even say I'm taking you to Canaan.
Yeah, he says it's a surprise.
Yeah, so he's completely put his trust in Hashem. Like now, God is his Abba, his new father. Okay, and he needs to forget everything that he acquired before. So I think yes, they left going to Canaan, but I think that it was like maybe I don't know. Maybe he was worship God lowercase. So it's not because of this, okay? Because maybe economically, I think so.
Yeah.
But here is completely something that's so spiritual, and he has a purpose. He knows I have to go. God is telling me, and there is a purpose for this walking.
Right. Now, if you look at Rashi, the second column, the top line, he says, "V'alo kvar yatsa misham im aviv uba at Haran." He left. He went to Haran. He says two things. Number one, he was still with his father. He says he traveled with his father to Haran.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Terach, his father, died in Haran. But he said no. And like you said, he said, no, go even further and move away from your father's house. You have to leave the whole mentality, the whole ideology, and move away. And then in Pasuk Daled, you see, that's what he did. He says, Vayelech Avram, he went. Kasher diber elav Hashem. He went not because he wanted the wealth, because he went because Hashem told him. By the way, Rashi brings one opinion that Agad l'shemecha in Pasuk Beis, and I will make your name great, means literally, I will make your name bigger. Abraham. I'm going to add it. That's one that comes from the Medrash. The Medrash says I'm going to add a letter to Abraham, and when you add the hey to Abraham, it begets the gematria 248, which is the amount of limbs in a body,
Oh,
because it's going to show that you're complete. Now you're complete. That's the Medrash. Medrash says. Somebody actually said to me once, "Oh, I don't like gematrias." He just thinks they're coincidence. He thinks, so if you do the same in English, A is one, B is two. It happens to be it doesn't work in English at all. And some gematrias are unbelievable, like even Lecha 100, they're all amazing. But he was coming to me thinking like maybe some rabbi 50 years ago invented gematrias. It's not true. Back in the time of the Medrash, in the time of the 1900, 2000 years ago, already they were talking about gematrias. Even before that, Rashi obviously quotes gematrias. You know, I think the Mishnah even has one gematria. The Mishnah was written 2,300, 400 years ago. So I think they were just under this false assumption, because sometimes you get confused. Like people will bring you something more modern than might be more modern, and you can argue with it. But this is like an old thing. So
yeah.
gematrias really are unbelievable. Some gematrias are,
But as we talked one time when we learned the vote, the gematria is kind of like the compote, the dessert.
the cherry.
Don't look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah.
Yeah, don't look at it. This is the main thing.
Right.
But when you have a cherry, it's good.
That's
It
good.
makes the whole food a little better.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, 100%. All right. Okay. Vayelech. Yeah. Then he went with Lot. Now Lot was Avram's nephew. He was Avram's nephew, because Avram had a brother called Nachar, I believe, and Nachar's son was Lot. Now Lot, we'll see later, he wasn't such a great guy, but he was related to Avram, so he was lucky enough. And how old was Avram when he left Haran? He was 75 years old. This is the age that he lost his father as well, Terach. And he didn't have kids yet. 75.
Rabbi, the fact that they're saying Vayelech ito Lot, okay, they're only mentioning here Lot because maybe there's a hint. Lot will have a big role in the history afterwards, like he's going to be the father of Moab, and then Ruth, and then David, and then Mashiach. So it's a part of the family, a very important part of the family. So that's why his name is mentioned here. I think so.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Right. Yeah, he will be part of the story, as we'll see soon. And then Avram took his wife Sarai, still called Sarai, and Lot, his ben Achiv, and all the rechusham, all the money and the possessions. This is something interesting. Ve'es hanefesh asher asu b'charan. They took the souls that they made in Haran. So what are these souls that they made in Haran? So Rashi says the simple explanation is the servants. And so everybody had servants. So he took his possessions, he took his servants. However, the Onkelos and Rashi in his first explanation say no. These are the souls that they made come religious, come close to Hashem, come observant. Not even observant, they found Hashem. And that time, Avram was the only person that believed in God, so he helped them find Hashem. So we see from here that it's as if he made their souls. The Onkelos says, "V'yas nafshasa the last line of Onkelos in this page, "Deshabidu la'iraita." He got them connected and subservient to the Torah. In Haran. So that's who he took with him. So he had a big entourage of all him and all his people. And they went to Eretz Canaan, to the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan. Yeah.
Yes, if we are talking about that they were servants, so it's like rechush. We have
Right.
rechusham asher achashu.
Right.
But here, nefesh asher haran. So it's something different. Servant you can buy it, or and here they yes. הנפש אשר עשו, they
Right.
make this נפשות
Right.
for Hashem.
Wow. Nice. So Radak says something interesting. I don't know how he knows this, but he says that if you go with the simple meaning, which is servants, it's a good question. If it's servants, why is it not included in Rechush in those days? But it says the servants agreed to go with Avram. It was very unusual. Normally, a person has a servant, you tell the servant what to do. But he said they agreed. He said they all, not just one of them, they all. He had many servants. He had a big. They all agreed to go with him. So I always find this interesting because people, when they think about servants, they think about like the bad servants, and they don't think about people like Avram who had a servant, and these servants were treated better than we will ever be treated. And you can see, and there's an example over here. The servants were asked, "Do you want to go with?" And they said yes. All of them said yes. They had the option. So you see how I don't know if I told you once we had a professor visiting over here. He was talking to me. He told me he's writing a book about slavery, and it starts with how Abraham had a slave, and he had a slave, everyone had a slave, because Abraham had a slave, Eliezer. And I said I don't like that idea because it's a bad comparison. You're taking a guy that had a slave and beat him up versus a guy that had a slave, and the slave was treated with royalty. Eliezer was treated with royalty. He was given autonomy. You don't send your slave to find your son or wife, right? You send your agent, you send your partner. This is going to be the person who continues your whole, your whole legacy, your whole nation. So Eliezer clearly was a trusted friend. In fact, the Medrash says that Eliezer's daughter wanted to marry Yitzchak. So to call him a slave is just like technically maybe he was, but he was a voluntary slave. He wanted to be a slave. In fact, he tried to let him go, and Eliezer said, "No, I want to stay with you." After he said no to his son, he said, "Go and set up your own life." He said, "No, I want to be. I'd rather be your slave than to go be myself." So it's not a slave. You can't. If you have a forced slave who doesn't like working with you, and you send them across the world, they're not going to come back. Why should they come back? Especially if you send them across the world with jewelry and all these diamonds. He sent him across the world, and he came back with a daughter. So certainly one's there. So that's why people learn the Torah with they put the 2025 glasses on and they get the wrong picture. So that's anyway. So when Avram had slaves, he asked them, "Do you want to come with me?" This is helpers, assistants, probably people that became close to Hashem and everything. It was a team. Anyway, they arrived to Eretz Canaan. It doesn't say what they went through. Simply, bless you. No, it says they arrived to the land of Canaan. Okay. Avram ba'aretz become Shechem at Elamora. They came to Elamora by Knani as ba'aretz. And the Knanim, they were then in the land. And it was that time when Hashem came to Avram for the first time. Now the Torah, bless you, the Torah, till the very end of the Torah, from this point, the Torah is going to repeat over and over and over again that we get the land of Eretz Yisrael. Hashem told it to Avram, told to Yitzchak, told to Yaakov, told to Moshe, told it to Aaron, told everybody, even told Paro, "I'm going to take it to their land." And then, of course, when they go through the nation, he told them over and over again, "It's the land which I promised you, the land which I promised you." And then he told Moshe. So till literally from the beginning of the Torah, from this point to the end of the Torah, even all the way through, we're told it's our land. So this is the first time we see it. Hashem came to Aaron and says, "I'm going to give your lazarachat, your offspring, I'm going to give this land." And I think this might be part of why the Arabs have the debate, because they say, "Oh, we're also offspring," right? So maybe that's why the last people we have to fight to get the land of Israel will be the Arabs, because they say we also zaracha. They're the closest. They're the cousins. They're the cousins. Okay. And then he traveled Hanegba. He traveled south. He traveled south in Eretz Yisrael. Once he was in Eretz Yisrael, he was in Shechem, and he traveled south. Okay, now he took a path that we don't have too much time to go through it, but he took a path that many people took after him as well, including his grandson Yaakov, which was, there's no food in Israel, let's go south to Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was built up at the time. It was like probably the biggest, most powerful country at the time, and they had a lot of food. So they traveled south to get the food. And I always found it interesting, like Avram did it, Yaakov did it, and it felt like our nation was like, they're getting pulled down to the depths of Tumah, impurity in Mitzrayim, and bounced back up. Even the Rambam himself went to Mitzrayim, and then he was buried in Israel. Like, this idea of Mitzrayim trying to pull us in to them over and over again throughout history. But this was the first time, and Avraham said, "Oh, okay, I've got to go down. I got to do what you got to do. I need money. I need food." So he went down, and this is a famous story when he wanted to protect his wife. So he put her in a box. She was taken away. He said that she's my sister, and Paro got punished because he tried to live with her. Yeah. Any thoughts?
Oh, he said he told her to say that she's a sister, but actually, like kind of a relative. But she was relative.
She was a relative. She was
So
a
it
niece.
wasn't really so much of a lie.
Right.
I would,
She was a
protect
niece,
Abraham.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then was Yiska also, right, Rabbi?
Yeah, Sarah was Yiska.
Yeah,
Same name. Same person. Different name.
yeah.
If you look in the back, and see, pass me a chumash. It's not in my chumash. No, only that one.
Okay.
I think that one's the newer one. So if you turn to the back, maybe not. In the new chumash, they have a picture. It's a great picture. You see the whole family of Abraham.
Yeah.
And you can see how he's related
Okay.
to Sarah and how he's related to Lot and all the children that came from him. Check it out. Definitely worth it. Yeah, and then they had fights, and then he split from Lot, and Lot went to Sodom. Talks about the kings who were around in his time. And Hashem said to Avram, he said something interesting, page 66, in Perek Tes
66?
Vav. Yeah, Perek Tes Vav, Pasuk Hey. We'll just finish with this, it's a nice idea.
Okay.
Hashem took Avram out, and he said, look at this.
Okay.
Look at the sky and count the stars. Question is, why do you tell him to count the stars? Just say, go to the sky. You see the stars? That's how your kids are going to be. What does it mean count the stars? So it sounds like an extra word. It's obviously, I'm bringing you out to see how many stars there are to tell you that's how many kids you're going to have. You're going to have a lot of ancestors. It's going to be a whole nation. They explain that, I think it's the Rosh Hashiva of, forget the name of the Shiva, but anyway, he explained a very nice idea, which is that Hashem was trying to say that just like it's impossible to count the stars, till today they don't know how many stars there are. They think there's like 800 billion, trillion, whatever. They don't actually know how many stars there are. It's impossible to know. It's impossible to count them. Superhuman. So too, the Jews are going to be a superhuman nation. They're gonna have superhuman abilities, just like you can't count stars. The Jewish nation, you're gonna find it hard to put their finger on them. They're going to have sort of what seems to be unbelievable yicholet, like abilities and talents. So that's what he says, a nice idea. Is why Hashem said to him, and this obviously was the famous Brit Ben Habitarim, the Brit Ben Habitarim, when he took a piece of meat and he showed them, you're going to have a challenge, you're going to have a challenge, you're going to have a challenge, but ultimately your nation's going to come up on top. And we know that's what happened. All of our enemies, they fall down and they die. And we continue.
Do you know, Rabbi, that the Muslims, they took the binding of Isaac and they switched it to binding of Ishmael?
We do it?
Yeah.
In Quran?
Yes. So everything is okay. It's working now.
Exactly. It's pretty smart. So you just swap out the name and you're done.
They only forgot that Muhammad was born in the 7th century. And this was 5,000 years ago. Okay, so something that doesn't work according to the time.
That's why everyone took the Torah, because they know the Torah is emes.
Yeah, of course.
Sheker en lo raglaim. The famous. You take the letters of Sheker. Shin comes to a point. Kuf only has one leg, and a Resh only has one leg on the ground. So as I say, Sheker en lo raglaim. If you want to say something not true, you have to add in some emes, because if it's not true, it's going to fall down. So you pull en lo raglaim. So even the nations of the world, when Christianity started 2,000 years ago, and then 400 years after that, Islam, they took the Torah, which was written, like you say, 3,500 years ago, because they know the Torah is emes. The Torah has withstood the test of time. So they wanted to base it on emet. Other religions that didn't do that, they fell down straight away. For them, they're just wobbling because they have a little bit of emet. So this is the idea, sheker and raglaim. But emes, aleph, 2 feet,
right.
Mem, flat,
yes,
tough, flat. Those letters can stand by themselves. Sheker falls down. It's a concept. But anyway, that's
You
the
know,
Torah.
Charlie Cloud, that he was murdered, he talked about the Torah, and you could see how, as you said, he knew, even though he was Christian, but he knew
Right.
that this is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, that from here we started. And he believed in every word. You know that he kept the Shabbat, Rabbi?
I heard that later. He was writing a book about it. Yeah.
He kept the Shabbat.
כן.
He said the Shabbat helps you. It's written. He said you have to do that. He said the Shabbat helps you to honor God, to honor your parents.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a great loss. He was